Hi, this is Leslie Fightmaster's voice, but you can see this is not me. This is my really good friend and student, Shireen. So she is going to do a nice little sequence that is a heart opener, back bending, and she's going to show us how to take an overhand grip in the Dhanurasana pose. So we're going to start in Virasana. She's actually sitting on a block, and I'm going to do a few adjustments during the practice. So I've got my knee just in her middle back to roll her shoulders back, and then I'm going to have her draw her front ribs in. Shireen is also a yoga teacher, and she was in one of my teacher trainings, and she is just absolutely lovely. So as you're here, start to take a few breaths, settling in. As you inhale, you're going to reach the arms out, around, and up, and face your palms toward the back of the mat a little bit. Make sure your ribs don't start to pop out, soften them in. And then bend your right elbow. Take your left hand on top of your right elbow just to kind of scoot it down toward the center of your back. And then left arm around, thumb faces down. Reach behind. If you can clasp your hands, you'll clasp. If you can't, hold on to your shirt. And then roll your left shoulder back and spin your right tricep in towards your face. And as you're sitting up nice and tall, again, make sure that your ribs aren't popping out and that your low back doesn't overarch. So then we're going to need a little bit of opening in our shoulders for the sequence, as well as our thighs. Reaching up through the arms, and then we'll bend the left elbow. Take the right hand on top of the elbow, moving the hand down toward the center of the back, any amount. Right arm out to the side and bring it around, clasping hands or holding your shirt. And then again, roll your right shoulder back as you spin your left tricep forward, drawing the ribs and belly in. And as you continue to press down into your sit bones and reach up through the crown of your head. Steady Ujjayi breathing in and out through the nose. And then we'll slowly begin to release this. And I'm going to take the fingertips behind you and lift off of your knees. So you're stretching the tops of the feet. It's a little bit tricky. If you don't get it at first, no worries. Just do the best that you can. And then coming back down, fingertips behind you again. This time lift your hips off the block. If you don't have a block to sit on, you can always sit on your heels, or if you can sit your hips between your feet, you can do that as well. Just make sure your knees and your hips are in line. So lower back down, and we'll remove the block. And come forward onto the hands and knees. And then stretch back into child's pose. So in this child's pose, we're going to get our arms ready for downward facing dog. So fingers are spread wide. The outer upper arms spin down toward the floor. The inner arms spin up toward the ceiling. Press a little extra weight in the thumb and first finger side of the hand. And as you're ready, you'll bend the knees and come on up and back into down dog. Notice how long the spine is. We want to get nice and long through the spine. And our feet are hips width apart, arms shoulder distance. So just going to turn those triceps back. Keep lifting your belly. Good. And then stretching back. Yeah, keep the ribs in and let your neck be nice and long. So your ears and your arms are just kind of in the same line. On your inhale, we'll come into plank pose. You're going to reach the tailbone toward the heels. Yeah, you don't want to stick up through the buns, but you don't want them to drop too much. You can take the knees down if you need to. Otherwise, keep lifting through the backs of your knees and lifting the belly. So you're pressing up through the upper back, but we don't want it to round. But we don't want it to sink either. Then shift forward about an inch, and we'll lower all the way down, untucking the toes, and slide the hands back so wrists are under elbows. And elbows in toward each other for cobra. So peeling the chest up, reach back through the heels, reaching the tailbone toward your heels. And notice how she keeps the back of her neck nice and long. And then as you exhale, we'll press up and back into down dog. So she didn't need to keep her knees down, but if you want to keep the knees down for the transition, it's totally fine. Firm the legs as you press your inner thighs back. And then bend your knees, look to the hands, and we'll step the feet all the way up. On your inhale, make a nice flat back, either fingertips to the floor or hands to shins. On your exhale, folding forward, hips right over the heels. And then inhale, press through the feet, reach all the way up, drop the tailbone, lifting through the ribs, and exhale, hands to the heart. So lifting the belly and dropping down through the low back. Make sure that you're steady in your feet. And we'll inhale, circle the arms out, around, and up. Exhale, and hinge from the hips to fold over the legs. Reach the crown of the head toward the floor. Inhale, make a nice flat back. Just going to hold this one for a little bit. You can bend your knees if you need to. So nice flat back, pull the belly in. Yes, and as you exhale, we'll bend the knees, plant the palms, and come to plank. And we'll hold a moment again, reaching the tailbone to the heels, shift forward about an inch. Lower, hug your elbows in, shoulders no lower than your elbows, but you can put your knees down. Inhale, press through the hands and feet, upward facing dog. Inner thighs spinning up, and exhale back to downward facing dog. So again, you're going to spin the triceps back, press weight into the thumb and first finger. Keep lifting your ribs and belly, and head right between the arms. Press a little extra weight in the thumb and first finger. And stretching out the spine as much as you can. You'll lift the weight, press it up to the hips, and then stretch it down toward the heels, although heels never have to touch. On your next inhale, let's lift the right leg up and back, and nice level hips. Exhale, step it through. Spin your back heel flat and come up into a warrior two. So your right knee is over the ankle and right in line with your second toe. Press your back thigh back just like you would in Tadasana pose. And drop your front hip down as you line up the knee over the second toe. Your back inner thigh can spin up toward the ceiling. So Shireen really didn't need very many adjustments, but I wanted to kind of show you what I'm talking about when I make these adjustments, when I tell you about them. So hopefully the visual can help. As you lift your chest, you'll soften through the shoulder blades, and now we'll clasp the hands behind you or hook your thumbs. Inhale, open up the chest. Exhale, taking your right shoulder down toward the right knee, and then lifting up through the arms. Reach the crown of the head toward the floor, any amount. And keep moving your front hip slightly underneath you as you press through the outer edge of the back foot. And then we'll release that. And we'll take the hand down to the floor, and then both hands down to the inside of your right foot. So we'll inhale to lengthen. And as you exhale, let's come right onto the forearms if you can. If that's a bit too much, stay on the hands. Your back leg can be off the floor, or you can drop down to the knee. Your right knee in line with your toes. So if your knee points out to the side, make sure your toes are as well. Good. So it's a little bit more challenging to keep the knee off the floor. But if you want to go that direction, you're welcome to. Keep lifting through the belly. Reaching the crown of the head toward the front of the mat. Good. Come on up, take the hands on either side of your front foot, and we'll lower through Chaturanga. Inhaling up, roll the shoulder heads back, and exhaling all the way back to down dog. And inhale the left leg back and up, nice level hips. As you exhale, step it through between the hands, spin your back heel flat, and inhale into warrior two. So again, we're going to get the left knee over your ankle and in line with the second toe. Your front heel in line with the back arch. You're going to drop your tailbone down, spin your back inner thigh up, and make sure your left knee's in line with your second toe. Reaching out through the arms. Soften just slightly through the shoulder blades so there's no tension around your neck. Your gaze is over the fingertips of the left arm. Taking a few breaths here. Now we'll clasp the hands with the other interlace. Inhale, open up the chest. And exhale, humble warrior, taking the left shoulder down toward the knee. And reaching the arms up and over. Good. And then keep pressing down through the front heel, but make sure you've got some weight in the back leg. A little more weight in the back leg if possible. And you can let your head go. Just let it be heavy, so you're lengthening out your neck. And you don't have to lift the arms that much. Shireen has some nice open shoulders, so any amount is fine. When you feel a stretch, it's great. Bring the hands to the floor on the inside of the left foot. Keep the knee and ankle lined up. So you can keep that back leg off the floor or take knee down. Keep the hands on the floor or come down to the forearms. And if you've got your block, you can do forearms on a block as well. You're going to keep lifting through the back leg, or you can set it down, knee over ankle. So knee in line with second toe. If your toes turn out, turn your knee out a little bit. And keep stretching through your back leg. Steady breathing. So the chest comes forward a little bit. And we'll walk the hands back up and step back. Either take a vinyasa or you can go to down dog. So lowering, inhaling, upward facing dog. And she had a little bit of hyperextension, just like I do, and that elbow on the left side, just like mine. So I just corrected that a little bit by having her take just a slight bend in the elbow. In fact, it didn't even look bent, but it just felt bent to her. And keeping the arm muscles engaged, so you're hugging the triceps and the biceps toward each other in the arms. Look forward. Bend the knees, step or hop your feet. Take an inhale for a flat back and an exhale to fold in. Inhale and pressing down, rise up with a flat back and reach up. Drop the tailbone down and exhale, Samastitihi. And we'll inhale, bend the knees into chair pose, reaching up. Dropping the tailbone again, lift the frontal hip bones. And then exhale and fold forward, reaching crown of head forward, hips over the heels. Inhale to lengthen, pull in the belly. Exhale and step or float back into chaturanga. Inhaling up. Good. No hyperextension there. Exhale, make your way back into downward dog. Inhale, step the right foot up. Back foot flat, and this time into warrior one pose. So we're going to try and drop the tailbone down and pull your right hip back as you draw your front ribs in. So we want to try to get a little less arch in the low back. So that's what that little adjustment was for. Good. And then knee over the ankle, right in line with the second toe. Now we're going to come back through chaturanga. Inhaling into up dog or cobra and exhaling back to down dog. So just a nice Surya B. Inhale, left foot steps, back foot is flat, rise up into warrior one and your Surya B. We're holding warrior one a little bit. We want to try to stretch out the hip flexor on the right leg, not the bent leg, the other leg. So as you drop the tailbone and lift your hip bones towards your low ribs, you should start to feel a stretch there. Your feet are lined up front heel with back heel, and you're trying to square up the hips and shoulders to the front of the mat. As you exhale, bring the hands down and lower through chaturanga. Inhaling upward dog and exhaling back into downward facing dog. Come back to plank. And as you exhale, slowly lower all the way down to your belly. And we'll either hook thumbs back here or clasp hands, interlacing fingers, and inhaling to Shalabhasana. So we're going to lift the chest, lift the legs, spinning the inner thighs up toward the ceiling, which would be the same as if you had a block that you were squeezing. So if you don't have a block, imagine you're squeezing one between your inner thighs. Back of the neck is long. Breathe into the chest and keep lifting your low belly. And then we'll lower down. You didn't really need the block, but just so you can see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and clasp again with the other thumb on top or the other interlace. And we'll lift up on the inhale. Good. So widening the collarbones, your shoulder blades will move in toward each other. Keep the belly lifted and inner thighs spinning up. So we're going to really work this in the upper back. So in the thoracic spine, coils in toward the front of the body. And then we'll release that and take a little rest. So the low back is the bendy part of the back. It's easy for back bends to get in for the low back, but the upper back and the hip flexors are what we really need to stretch and open. So inhale, up dog or cobra, and exhale, coming into down dog. Let's float the right leg up on your inhale. Exhale and step it up and stay on the ball of the back foot this time. And just pause on your fingertips and then come up with a nice flat back into crescent pose. And then we'll bend the back knee a little bit and tilt the pelvis forward, lifting the hip bones to the low ribs, a little more tilt. And then keep the tilt as you extend through the back leg. Front ribs are drawing in, your right knee over the ankle, stretching up very tall through all four sides of the waist, and make sure that your arms are straight, even if you have to take them a little bit wider than shoulder distance. Then bringing the hands to the heart, you're going to lean forward over your right leg and take your left elbow across for a nice twist. So we'll press the palms in toward the center of the chest, keeping the knee and ankle in line. And then pull your right hip back as you just drop the left hip down a little bit, reaching through your left heel. Come on back through center, and then reach your arms forward in line with your ears. So nice flat back. Walk your back foot in a little bit. So you can keep your arms just as they are, or hands to heart center is a little bit easier to get settled. Whenever you feel ready, we're going to lift the back leg into warrior three. Now this pose is hard. It's a difficult pose. So you're going to firm your standing leg, press some weight into the base of the big toe, lift the back leg through the back inner thigh, drop the outer hip down as you squeeze your right hip in toward the midline. And then we'll take the hands down and right into a nice standing split. So keep the inner back thigh spinning up toward the ceiling. So we want to keep those hips nice and level in our standing split. And if you want to, you can hold on to your standing leg with one or both feet. And then we'll step it back, either down dog to stay or come to plank and move through chaturanga. Inhaling into up dog and exhaling back into downward facing dog. Left leg, and we'll step it all the way through as you stay on the ball of your right foot, coming on up to high lunge. So again, we'll bend the back knee a little bit, tilt the pelvis forward, zip up the belly, and then work the back leg from there. Drawing the front ribs down and in as you lift up through the back ribs, getting so long through the torso and the arms. Nice, steady breathing. And let's take the hands toward each other as you lift your elbows up to the ceiling. So we'll do this when we get to our overhand grip in Dhanurasana. So it's very similar to this. The elbows point up, the outer arms, the triceps spin in, and you'll feel a nice little stretch in your triceps. So reach up, bring the hands to the heart, lean over your front thigh, and then bring your right elbow across and twist. Good. If you're feeling wobbly today or any day, you can always take your back knee to the floor during the twist. Try and drop your left hip down, pull it back, sending the right hip forward, and then working the back leg, making sure your left knee and ankle are lined up. Turning your gaze upward if you're steady. And then we'll unwind that, coming all the way back to center. And reach over your chest in line with your thigh. And again, you can keep the arms by the ears, or you can start with hands at heart center first to stabilize yourself. Take a little bend in the standing leg as you lift your back leg up. Lift it from the inner thigh. Let your outer hip drop down, and then start to reach through the back leg. But notice how the chest is lifted. We want to be showing off the collarbones toward the front of the mat, lifting the rib cage. And then we'll take a standing split. So hands to the mat, and if they don't reach, by the way, put them on a block. Lift your right leg up, lifting it from the inner thigh so your hips stay nice and level. Reaching the crown of the head toward the floor. You could also hold onto the standing leg. And we'll slowly step it back and move through Chaturanga, or just go right into down dog. Inhaling up dog if you're taking your vinyasa, and exhaling back into downward facing dog. Stretching back, arms and ears in line. Inhale back to plank, and exhale, come all the way down to the belly. So now we're going to take Dhanurasana or Shalabhasana first. So arms by the ears, pull in the belly. So just like we did in crescent pose, lift your hip bones towards your low ribs as you lift your chest and lift the legs up. You can stay right in this pose or swim your arms back, bend the knees, reach back for the pinky toe sides of your feet, and lift up. Okay. You're going to reach the feet back. So you're pressing back with the feet as you lift them up, but continue to lengthen your low back. So still reaching the tailbone to the backs of the knees, still lifting the hip bones toward the low ribs. And then come down to rest. Okay, so I think we're getting ready for the overhand grip. So taking your left hand back and hold your palm up, but you're taking the hand to the inner foot, and then as you take your arms out to the sides, the elbows start to go out to the sides and then pull up, and you're spinning your triceps in toward each other. This is not easy, although Shireen makes it look super easy. And then let's release and rest. We'll do it one more time. So when you're trying to take that grip, you'll bend the knees and you'll take your hand palm facing up like you're holding a tray, and you'll take it toward the pinky toe side of your foot. And then you got to grab onto that foot, the pinky toe. I usually grab onto my toes and try it that way. Or you can grab the whole foot like Shireen is. And then once you have that, so your elbows are under, but then you bring them all the way around toward the front of the mat. And as you lift up through the feet, you're still pressing back. Elbows are toward each other. Triceps spin in and then release it. So if you didn't get that, let me just say you're not alone. I have probably just done that pose a handful of times because I find it very challenging with my shoulders that are a little bit on the tight side. So, and then let's make our way back into a child's pose. Stretch out the back the other way. Take a few nice long rounds of breath. If you got into the pose, or maybe you stayed with Dhanurasana, that would be a wonderful variation. Probably your heart's beating a little bit more with that nice open heart energy. So we'll reach the arms forward, come back into a down dog, stretch out your spine. Inhaling plank. And exhale, shift forward, Chaturanga. Inhale, open the front of the body. Probably feels so open now. And exhale back into down dog. Looking forward, and we'll come through and sit. Extending the legs out. Pull your toes back. Sit up really tall. Firm in the legs. Lengthening the spine. Roll the shoulder heads back. Drawing the front ribs in, lifting the back ribs up in Dhanurasana. This is a great pose to build strength in your back. Inhale, arms reaching up, and exhale, hinge from the hips to go forward. Reach for the feet or the ankles or a strap. See how nice and long her spine is? So inhale there. Now she can touch her belly to her thighs, so as she exhales, she can come forward, and a little bit of rounding in the upper back I think is okay. So we're going to pull, keep pulling the toes back. And keep reaching the crown of the head toward the feet. A nice counter pose for those back bends. And then we'll inhale to lift your head. And exhale, releasing. And then slowly lower onto your back and hug the knees in. And then grab for pinky toe sides of your feet for happy baby. So drawing the knees towards your armpits, lengthen your tailbone toward the floor. So still we'll stretch out the spine a little bit here. And if you want to rock gently side to side, you're welcome to. And an option to extend the legs out to the sides for a Upavishta Konasana variation. Either way. And then we'll release it, arms to a T. And we'll drop the knees off to the right. So she's got right knee crossed on top of left, knees over to the right, and then looking over the left shoulder. If it's too much to cross the knees, just put one on top of the other. Back to center, left knee over right, and drop it down over to the left side, and looking over the right shoulder, trying to turn your turn your belly up to face the ceiling. Just winding down, slowing down the breath. Notice the change in your body, how it feels now versus how it felt in the beginning. Let's draw the knees in for one last Apanasana. And continuing to lengthen. So Shireen lifted her legs up and then took them down. If you have any back issues, just go down with the knees bent. But let's make our way into Shavasana. So the feet about hips width are a little bit longer, a little bit wider, and let the feet go out to the sides. Arms out to the sides a little bit with your palms facing up. Close your eyes and just relax and rest for a few minutes. And while we're resting here a little bit longer, I'll read our quote for our class today. It's from an unknown author, but I found it and I thought it was really, really pretty. Why do we close our eyes when we pray, when we cry, when we dream, or when we kiss? Because we know that the most beautiful things in life are not seen, but felt by the heart. Give yourself a nice long stretch. Start to make some movements. When you're ready, roll over to your right side. And then using your left hand, come on up and take a comfortable seated position, crossing your shins. And we'll bring the hands together. And bring the hands up to the forehead, reminding us to have clear and loving thoughts. And down to the heart center, reminding us to have clear and loving intentions. And up to the mouth, reminding us to have clear and loving communication. I honor you. Thank you so much for your practice. Namaste. Please like the video. If you do, please comment, subscribe, tell your friends. And we would love any donation that you could afford, as we are saving for a new computer because ours is breaking down, and we want to continue putting up videos every week, maybe even more, hopefully. So I really, really appreciate all of your support. If you want to come with us to Mexico on our ladies' retreat off the coast of Cancun, leave a comment below. And thank you, Shireen. She's so beautiful. Have a good day.